Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please adjust your volume to its maximum capacity and prepare for some great times. Welcome to the Blowed Out Podcast. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Should I say cowboys and cowgirls, or just hey kids? I don't know. I keep trying to decide if I want some catchy little phrase, but it'll be different every time. So hope everybody's doing well this end of February. Almost. We got a minute still, thank God. I was thinking earlier about principal, not principal, not the dude we all love to hate in high school, not good old Latham busting me for smoking out behind the seminary building. But principle. You know, that reason we do things that we do. And I keep trying to decide if somehow I have gone wrong, or where I have gone wrong, if I have gone wrong, in teaching my teenagers principle. And the more I think about it, the more it gets complicated. Because I try and do most of what I do on principle. But principle is one of those tricky things where you have to be subjective based on each situation of principle. You know, if I come home and someone's in my parking spot, I tell them to get the hell out of the way on principle. But if someone does something wrong that either they didn't know they were doing wrong, or even if they did, that's where the tricky part comes in, and you have to decide whether or not that the long-term ramifications of sticking to your principles is going to affect everything else down the road. There again, that's why it gets tricky. I'm not a fan of the tricky part. It's troubling, again, because you have to decide if sticking to your principles is going to ruin, say, friendships or business relationships. And I don't like that at all. It's cause for, hell, I don't know. I probably should have thought this through a little better. I don't like that it forces us to make those decisions, typically in the moment. And I have decided that there apparently just is no winning with my teenagers. I'm curious to hear what everyone else thinks about that. Because not only does it apply to my teenagers, it applies to a lot of things, situations, and people in mine, and I'm sure just like you guys, everyone else's lives. I don't know. I wanted to mention that while I was thinking about it. Because the flip side of that, the principal of this shit show, is not doing his job very well, which we already knew. But one thing, an interesting thing that I never thought I would ever hear come out of my mouth, is that I just read an article that Hillary Clinton, of all people, just said something that I agree with. God, that is a terrifying thought. And a terrifying statement to even hear come out of my mouth. Apparently, she just laid into a bunch of pro-Palestinian demonstrators at one of her talks or, I don't know, seminars or whatever it is she does, and gets paid ridiculously well for it when probably isn't warranted. But she said that she wishes all these pro-Palestinian demonstrators and supporters and protesters had a clue what they were even protesting or supporting. And I agree with that. Now, I don't claim to be up to speed on all of it or some sort of expert on the deal or on the subject. But she referred to it as a type, I'm paraphrasing, but a type of anti-Semitism that was supposed to have been gone. And that regardless, or that we shouldn't be using a sexual, I guess, a sex crime fueled war tactic. Again, I'm completely botching this, but basically we shouldn't support them because they do a lot of really bad stuff to a lot of really bad people. And all these dumb little hipsters that think they're standing with Palestine is because they just got their land taken from them, or, they think it's just about the fact that at some point during history they just got ran over and told where they could or couldn't live. Unfortunately, most of us know there's way more to it than that. Right, wrong, or indifferent, regardless of who you stand with, I stand with U.S. I don't have any reason not to stand with other places other than we need to stand with ourselves first. You guys know that's how I feel, and I think everyone listening does or should. Yes, do other places need help? Sure. But second to us, we need help also. So until we help ourselves, then I don't feel like we should be helping anyone else. And that's just my personal opinion. Hate on me if you want, but I'm not going to stand with Israel or stand with Palestine or Ukraine or anywhere else until we stand with ourselves first. That's the biggest problem. The second biggest problem is, again, half of these people standing with these places don't even know what they're standing with them for, or why they should be or think they should be. It's a problem. There needs to be education. If you're going to stand with something, educate yourselves, please. Apparently, I need to stand with a little bit more Prevacid, because it's really hard trying to not sound like an idiot talking into this microphone with heartburn. Now, in all fairness, I did have a big spiel planned out in my head about the principal thing. And I'm going to save you guys the monotonous, painful spiel. Because again, I'm torn on a lot of things about it. So I realize I kind of left that high and dry, but it was for you guys. I'm doing you guys a favor by changing the subject. But to circle that all back, I will never fault someone for standing on principle. But again, to circle back, do some due diligence and make sure that the principle you're standing on or for is the right one, and it's for the right reasons. And we can just leave it at that. That will quickly sum up all the things I was going to say. Now, if we want to get into some dumb fuckery, apparently, old Poutini, and I forget his name, the president of Belarus, apparently is his best friend, or his closest ally, and they've been hanging out preparing for, possible World War III. That honestly, and it, again, I claim to be no expert, but that doesn't necessarily bother me. It's Belarus, guys. Yes, they have a military. Yes, they have, 140,000 or so troops, they're not exactly known for having a lot of, well, I don't know, air superiority or ground superiority or naval superiority. Honestly, I think that, yes, it certainly wouldn't help if they teamed up. But at the end of the day, that's like saying, I don't know. That's like saying I got a whole bunch of guns and my neighbor's coming too and he's got 2. Like, I really don't think that him teaming up with Belarus is like reason for us to go out and raid the shelves of toilet paper and, cans of Beano, or Beanie Weenie. Sorry, not Beano. Wrong way. One's in, one's out. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. At this point, it sounds like currently he's probably the only one that will talk to him. So I wouldn't go getting all worked up about that. What I think we should be getting worked up about is folks like, I don't know, these clowns at the post-Super Bowl parade. Look, you do not have the right or get all butthurt because your team lost or because that guy said something about your pink panties hanging out of your shorts and start shooting up the place. Horse shit. Oh, God damn it. This pisses me off, guys. It gives us all a bad name. It gives any respectable gun owner a bad name, which, in all fairness, you probably didn't obtain them legally. You probably weren't legally allowed to possess them. I'm not sure the details, but still, you don't just get all butthurt and start shooting shit up. Like I said, because, somebody didn't like your lipstick color or your stupid football team lost. Everybody just needs to calm down and knock it the hell off. We are killing ourselves, or we're on the verge of collapsing from within. That, to me, is way scarier than Putin teaming up with Belarus. Sorry if it seems like I keep starting and stopping, guys. It's because I am. I don't know why, but my blood pressure or my anxiety or something's way high. Sorry, I'm trying to work through it here, guys. If I sound strange. Not trying to. I think it's the heartburn. Damn bratwursts. They were delicious. The worst part, one of the worst parts about being your own sound engineer is, guys, is while you're watching the monitors and your stomach growls because of the damn bratwursts, you can see the microphone pick it up. Well, shit. Well, we tried. Anyhow, we're going to switch gears a little bit from that. I took some pills and did a little woo-san. Maybe that'll help. Maybe my heart is still just pissed that we flew solo on Valentine's Day. It thought I said flashlight. I know I say this every time, and you're probably sick of hearing me say it, but damn, I really don't want to peruse headlines for you guys. Yes, I realize there is comedic value in it. And yeah, sometimes it's fun. But I feel like it ultimately just ends up in the same doomy, gloomy bullshit that these solo sessions have a tendency to turn into. And I know you guys are still waiting for the guests I keep promising. Still working on that too. There's a little bit of, much like the country, there's a little bit of civil unrest in my personal life also, so I'm trying to avoid that. Anyhow, probably should have mentioned this last week, but the Utah State Arm Wrestling Championships were over the weekend, or last weekend, rather. So, I don't know if you guys happened to catch that, or if you happen to see us there, and by us, I mean Matt and I, as you guys know, we're dual purpose here. So Evolution Design Works donated a beautiful arm wrestling table to be raffled off. Congratulations to whoever won it. But it was going to the Ogden City School District at the elementary level, which, of course, we'll always get behind. However, I was going to say, if you didn't catch it, you should, and you're into that sort of thing, you should keep your eyes peeled, because it's one of the few places you can go where not only is too much pre-workout encouraged, you'll actually get cheered on for it. Stomp around on the verge of shitting your pants at all times. Whoa! No, but seriously, Attitude Arm Sports puts on a great event. Again, if you're into that sort of stuff, it's a nice break from, the NASCAR or the footballs or the basketballs or whatever. It's actually kind of, it's fun. I don't do it. I never have. I've always sucked at it. Even when I was at my biggest, I don't have the technique. I don't have the wrists for it. So I've never done it personally, but it is fun. It's fun to watch. And it's fun to see who you think might, be a big bad mofo get stomped by somebody who's just faster and better. So there is that. But like I said, they put on a great show, and shout out to them for a good time. We appreciate them having us be a part of it. Speaking of cool local events, well, sort of local. Now I can't remember if I mentioned it in the last episode. If I did, I'm sorry. Don't mean to repeat myself, but the dates have officially been announced for X12. Which is Utah's only motorcycle hill climbs left now. That Widowmaker has become a thing of the past, sadly. And they are, of course, I would say that before looking, looking real quick, because they changed it. Last year it was on Mother's Day weekend, and then, as we all know, that doesn't pan out well. No mother or wife likes to hear that you're going to be at the hill climbs instead of having Mother's Day. So, this year they are May 17th to May 19th. They are in Plymouth, Utah. Again, it's a great time. It's a really great event. We're working on getting it to be, a ginormous deal like Widowmaker was. It's not there yet, but it's a really great event. There's camping available. We'll be there. We always are. So we'll be working the hill. We'll have, we will theoretically have a booth with some swag and some stuff for sale. Evolution Design Works, sorry. But there will be, obviously, some blowed out stuff there as well. It's a great time. Like I said, yeah, it's a bit of a drive, but you can camp. I believe there's a hotel semi-nearby. I honestly couldn't tell you that part, sorry. But come on out. It's great, almost grassroots hill climbing. Kind of, the way it used to be. With pros coming down. Like I said, it's just a great time for the whole family. There's kiddie hills and everything. You can still enter and register to ride. So hit them up, x12events.com. And like I said, if, at this point, we're just trying to get some awareness to it. So if you guys like Widowmaker or loved Widowmaker, come help us make X12 a great deal so we can love hill climb some more. If you'd like more information, you can always hit us up, blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com. Although I would suggest going straight to the website so you can coordinate with them. There's tons of room for camping. It's cheap. I think it's like $10 a day to camp. It's a great time. So it's something we definitely hold near and dear to our hearts and would love to see all you guys there. It'd be fantastic. Now, that being said, I feel compelled to tell you guys a story. So, some of you know that Matt and I and a bunch of the fellers used to be quite involved with Widowmaker. Well, some of you may or may not also know that I have a morbid fear and, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, let's just say I loathe honey buckets, porta-johns, whatever you want to call them. So, I would typically go up 4 or 5 days before the event. We would help set up the pits and set up the spectator area and the parking and the staging lanes and at Widowmaker, it was an all-out assault for weeks for us. Well, so the fact that I cannot stand porta-johns, like almost a morbid fear. So I had been at Widowmaker for several days because, man, back in the early days, we used to have to push sheep out of the field and move them up into a different pasture and everything to prepare for the event. So I'd been there for several days pushing sheep and dragging sprinkler lines and setting up pits and you name it. And of course, at the end of every day, when the sun goes down, it's time to relax. And I relaxed like I always do. But by about the third day, it was time to deal with all that relaxation. And I did not want any part of said honey bucket. It was the middle of the night, and I thought, okay, all right, goddamn, I'm safe. I know where there's one, because there was a bunch. We would set up like 20 of them in a row for all the spectators and everybody. But there was one way out in the North 40 that not a lot of people knew about, and it was kind of for like the gate guy, or somebody that just rolled in from California or whatever that just couldn't hold it 20 more minutes as they're trying to get through the gates to come into the pits. So in the middle of the night, I thought, okay, here it is. I got a plan. Dumbass. So I jumped on my four-wheeler and I rode clear out to the North 40, pitch black in the middle of nowhere. There was this one, lone soldier of a honey bucket that I thought I would be safe in because probably no one's used it yet, or maybe only one person, and hopefully they only had to pee, but I wouldn't get bothered. There was no, there was no crowds, there was no nothing. And I thought, okay, that's the one. That's what I'm going to do. And by now I'm like, my guts are, it's time. We'll just leave it at that. So I ride out there in the middle of the night, like 2 a.m, by myself, pitch black. And I kind of scope it out, and yep, sure enough, it looks fairly safe. It's not brand spanking new, but it's close. So I get in there, and I get sat down, and it's time to do what I've been dreading for days. And sure as shit, just the minute I finally get comfortable enough to actually go and put my phobia to rest for a minute, I hear voices. I could still see it in my head and hear it plain as day. And I'm thinking, I'm in the middle of damn nowhere. why am I hearing voices? And they keep getting a little louder, and I realize they're headed straight for me. And I shit you not, in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere, somebody tries to open the damn door of the honey bucket that I'm in. You gotta be shitting me. I was mortified. I thought, well, there's a four-wheeler sitting right outside. It's pitch black. Of course there's someone in here. And you just made all my horrific phobias come full circle. Sure shit, I had to tell somebody, occupado. I could not believe it. That might not have been the greatest story, but one of the worst honey bucket stories of my life, and only one of about 300 amazing Widowmaker stories, just for the record. But that place forever changed our lives, and will always be a part of our hearts. And X12, like I said, it is not, it's not there yet, but man, it's still hill climbing, and damn it if it ain't a great time. And we were there last year, and this has all been coordinated over a couple of years, and it was just like it was almost like we had never left. It's good times, and there's not a bad seat in the house. So like I said, if you guys are into hill climbing, come on out. Let's have a ball. Damn it, I love it. We love it. It's great. You know, while I was listening to that back to edit it, hold on, I gotta take off my damn headphones. Sorry, I'm still trying to figure out how to get rid of just the tiniest little bit of delay in my headphones, because it makes me insane. I can't do it. If I'll take them off, if there's a delay, I can't do it, and I can't figure out how to get rid of it, but we'll get there. Anyhow, so I was listening back a little bit, and the honey bucket story made me think of another one. And this will only be probably funny to me, but my very dear friend, one of my very best friends ever, Lenny, God rest his soul. One time, he, for those of you who may or may not know Lenny, or may know Lenny, rather, not may or not, he was paralyzed. He had a tumor in his spinal cord. It was a brain tumor. And the reason I know that is because he was some kind of super rare, super Wookiee tumor, brain tumor, that was in his spinal cord. And like I said, the reason I know that is because they brought in people from all over the world, because he was like one of 5 people that ever had it there. Honestly, I don't necessarily recall the details now, but he was one of my very best friends in the world. Well, anyhow, at some point he had just accepted it. They tried to fight it. They tried to get rid of it. And nothing worked. And ultimately they said, well, we can get rid of it. But it's going to require cutting your spinal cord out, which obviously would leave him paralyzed. And I've talked about this a lot over the years, but not necessarily with a lot of people. So this is a first for me, and I haven't talked about it in a long time, in all fairness. But he decided that he wanted, obviously to get rid of the problem. So he made the decision to let them cut his spinal cord out, or sever it, or, whatever. I assume there was probably still some of it left, but I don't know the details about that part. But So he drove himself to the hospital. Knowing that he would never drive his truck home. Anyhow, that's not why I was telling the story. But so anyhow, fast forward a ways. Once he was kind of accustomed to the chair, we used to have great times. I mean, we always had great times, no matter what. But once he was accustomed to the chair, then we could fuck with him and fuck with each other and shit. And there was a lot of great stories that came out of that. And one of them is we decided to go to the air show at Hill Air Force Base. And for any of you, if you've ever been to an air show, it doesn't matter what base it is. It's a giant shit show and there's, 10 Brazilian people and everything else. Well, so Lenny and I, and there was a handful of others that went, Bo and Sherry and my dad and a bunch of people. But so we park and we go up. I was going to say roll up, but only one of us rolled up. We get up to, where we have to get in line to go through the security gates and the metal detectors and stuff. And I go through, of course, and I put all my shit in a little bin and I walk through and no beeps. Okay, cool. So I turn around to wait for him. Well, there's no cigarettes allowed and no lighters. So they get this great big garbage can full of Bic lighters and shit of everybody that shows up with a lighter in their pocket. And the security forces guys are like, no lighters, whip, right in the giant garbage can of lighters. Well, so Lenny rolls up, literally, to the dude, sir, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to check in. He's like, yeah, okay, I get it. And so he rolls through, and of course it goes off, and the guy is a big black kid, security forces guy. Normally I would say MP, but it's an Air Force base, so it's security forces. SF guy looks at him and he says, sir, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to check, your bag. And Lenny says, oh, you mean my man purse? And he's like, okay. And it's just like the little fanny pack thing that's clipped, that clips onto his wheelchair. So he unclips it and he hands it to the guy. And the guy unzips it and he's kind of rooting through it. And he pulls out a catheter. And I'm just standing there waiting. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, Crippy. Come on, fuck, you're holding up the line. But that's just what we did. And he's like, shut your mouth, fat man. I'll get there when I get there. People are just staring at us like they can't even believe the dialect that's going on between us. Well, this big security forces dude has a catheter in his hand and he holds it up and he's like, and Lenny, you can see the look of, I don't know what the hell this is on the dude's face. And Lenny goes, oh, that's just a piss tube. And the guy goes, brr, and shoves it back in the bag and hurries and hands it back to Lenny. And he's like, you're good to go. You're good to go, sir. And I'm like, oh, so I'm kind of like trying not to die laughing about that. So I revert back to, oh my God, God damn you cripples, you hold up everything. And he says, you know what, you fat piece of shit. I said, I will fuck you up, Crippy. So he rolls over by me, and I would pick up the back of his chair, and I would pop one of his wheels off. The back wheels, you could just pop them on and off pretty easy. So I picked up his back wheel, or his chair, and popped off the back wheel and threw it. And said, you know what, fuck you, you can just sit here till I get back. And everybody, of course, is just like, oh my God, I can't believe you would do that to that poor crippled person, that poor handicapped guy. And Lenny's laughing so hard he's squeaking. And I'm dying laughing. And that big security forces guy comes over and he's like, "Sir," and he was pissed. And I was like, "Oh, fuck." I was like, "God damn it, Lenny, tell him we're just fucking around or he's going to arrest me." And he's laughing and he was like, "You could take that fat piece of shit to jail for all I care." I was like, "Lenny, he's serious." Oh my God. So we were dying about that. So we finally get that all settled. We both settle down enough and tell the dude that it's just a joke and we're just fucking with each other. And I put his wheel back on and we roll into the air show. Well, unbeknownst to me, when the big dude got told that he was fondling one of Lenny's catheters, he just shoved it back in the bag and threw it back at Lenny and told him, "You're good to go." So we're sitting there about an hour and a half into the air show, and Lenny goes, "I'm going to smoke." I was like, "What do you mean you're going to smoke? We can't bring smokes in here and lighters and shit." And he was like, "When I told homeboy he had one of my piss tubes, he didn't finish checking my bag." I was like, "Are you shitting me?" He says, "No." He says, "I got my smokes and my lighter and everything." So we went in the big handicap porta-john and smoked it up like had a good man's camel because homeboy didn't want to finish searching his bag because of the piss tube. Another great honey bucket story. So, just for the record, if you want to get through security somewhere, just put a catheter on top of your piss, or of your wheelchair bag and tell them they're handling one of your piss tubes. We probably had 4 or 5 cigarettes while everybody else was dying because they couldn't have theirs. It was awesome. We had some good times. That goofy bastard, rest his soul. In all fairness, I'm pretty sure that same basic set of circumstances got me slapped in a bar one night because he came out of the bathroom. He had been in the bathroom, and I was talking to this chick, which I very rarely do. I'll talk to chicks. I have no problem talking to chicks, but I'm terrible at picking up on clues. So I was just talking to this gal, like we were just talking. I didn't realize she was into me or any of that mess, but he come rolling down this kind of little hallway and ran into me. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw him coming, out of the bathroom down this little hall and ran into me. And I was standing at the end of this hall talking to this girl, and I said, "God, ow, damn it, you dumbass, retarded-ass cripple." And he said, "If you weren't such a fat piece of shit, you wouldn't be blocking the way for us handicapped folks." And I said, "I'll show you what." So same thing, I picked his chair up and I popped the wheel off and I threw it down the hall. And I turned back to this chick and she's just bawling. Calling me a monster and telling me she can't believe I'm such a giant piece of shit, and how could I do that to that poor handicapped guy? And I said, "That fucking retard right there in the wheelchair?" Yeah, needless to say, I didn't get her number. But those were better times, guys, when we could say stuff like cripple and retard, apparently, without getting backlash. But again, God damn it, we had a lot of fun with that skit. Well, the fair thing about that is I hadn't really given a lot of thought to Lenny, and, well, at least not like that. I hadn't reminisced in quite a while. So thank you guys for that. Unbeknownst to you, you just brought up some great memories. In fact, the only time I see him now, other than the occasional reminisce, is he's tattooed on my body. Well, not him, obviously, but I have a tattoo. A lot of people have asked me over the years what my tattoo is on the bottom of my left arm that goes up into my armpit. And that's Lenny. That is Frito. Speaking of tattoos, that is my small business shout out. I was going to say of the week, but of the episode. My small business shout out for this episode is 1000 Cranes Tattoo Studio. These guys are very near and dear to my heart. They are friends, and they are absolutely, hands down, some of the finest artists, tattoo artists in northern Utah, in Utah, period. Here in Ogden. They're not a walk-in shop. They're not opposed to walk-ins, but they typically are booked out. So your best bet is to hit them up at 801-689-2972, or just Google them. 1000 Cranes Tattoo Studio. Spell it out. Not 1000, 1000 Cranes, all spelled out. This is a private tattoo studio. And again, they absolutely are the best. They're not in a mall. They are typically appointment only. Not gonna lie, they're booked out, but it's for a reason. They are the best you're going to find anywhere around. Huge shout out to Ryan and the boys at 1000 Cranes. I love them dearly. You will not be disappointed. If you are looking to get a new tattoo, save your money, call the shop line, get yourself an appointment, and don't settle for anything less than the best. Yeah, you're gonna find other places that you can walk in. You're gonna find other places that can get you in faster, and you'll find other places that can get you in cheaper. But if you'd like to see the result of some of those types of places, hit me up. I'll send you pictures. I've learned this the hard way. You get what you pay for, kids. On that note, I'm going to leave you guys. I've rambled on enough here. It was great. I've had a hell of a good time. I hope you guys have too. Some great stories. Yeah, I was probably a bit discombobulated, but it happens. It's kind of what we do. It's blowed out. If there's something you want to hear, if there's something you want to know, if there's somebody you want me to shout out, hit me up. Hit us up at blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com. Excuse me. Hit us up on Facebook. The Grams. I don't know. The Twitters. I don't know. Wherever you can find us. And then next time we should get some... next time we should have some great footage. This weekend we're talking about having a bit of a barbecue. And we're going to have a Oculus VR party. We've got a few of them. We've recently been playing with this thing for the first time. We figured out how to link them. Oh, it's on like Donkey Kong, so we should have some audio, some videos, and pictures. This could be a hot mess. If you've got one you'd like to donate to the show for the purpose of public embarrassment, hit me up, please. Otherwise, like I said, you know where to find me. You know where to find us. And next time, hopefully it'll be something other than solo, and it'll still be a good time. Till then, cheers, guys. Love you.